We're here in Tubberud, and this is St. Kieran's Well. This dates from about the 4th century or the 3rd century Anno Domino. St. Kieran was a local man from Tubberud, and as these people are here local. What's your name?
Pamela.
Pamela, and your name is?
Keisha.
Keisha. The Pamela and Keisha, they only live just up the road from here. This well was used by everyone in the neighbourhood at one time. There was an abundance of water here, but a bit of agricultural contracting in the early 60s on the draining of a bog interfered with the flow of water here, but there was still plenty clear water in the well. Tubberud is very, very historical. It was here around the time of St. Patrick. Patrick arrived in this country in 432. Shortly after that, he had an altercation with St. Declan, who was a member of the Deacies. And the Deacies parish, if you like, came in this far, the Waterford diocese, and it still exists even since then. But Patrick was a small bit greedy. He wanted the whole lot to himself, and St. Declan wasn't having any of it. So they had a big falling out, and they wouldn't speak to each other for years. In the end up, someone intervened, and they got St. Kieran to act as mediator. And they met here at this spot, right on this spot, in around 440. And while they were arguing and St. Kieran was acting as mediator, a pregnant woman came along and saw these three holy men deep in conversation, as we call it, but it got much hotter than that. And she was heavily pregnant. And before the row was over, she actually went into labour and collapsed on the ground. Well, the St. Kieran and St. Declan helped to deliver the child. And when the child was born, she said, having three holy men there, it would be nice to have him baptised by the three holiest men in the country. But there was no water for baptising or no salt to use in the baptism. And St. Kieran says, I'll fix that, and he struck this rock here, and the well appeared. And they baptised the baby, and St. Declan bent down and picked up a fist of dirt and said, here's your salt. So that's how this well came to be all those years ago, and that's the legend of Tubberud. Across the field from quite near is Ruska, or Ruska Burke, and in that Ruska Burke's area there's a few caves. There's actually one cave that St. Kieran used to crawl into. You crawl in about 60 feet into it, and it opens up into a bigger cave, and he used to crawl in there pretty often to pray in solitude, as if in the year 440 there wasn't enough solitude already. But he'd give all day in there praying and being hungry, not have anything to eat, in the dark, praying in the dark. It's pretty hard to access to get in there, but it can be. We assume at the time that St. Kieran was a small man, and the smaller you are, the easier it is to crawl in there. Guarded at the moment by peregrine falcons. This would have been the Protestant church that dates from about 1650. It's roofless now and in ruins, and a small bit shaky and a bit dangerous to go into, because there's a warning sign there that says beware of fallen masonry and objects. But it's a beautiful church in a beautiful setting. It's not the oldest church on this spot by any means. In a couple of moments we'll show you an older, even older church that happens to be Catholic. Tubberud, just yards away from the Protestant church, is Catholic, small, very, very old, dating from about 1570, is a Catholic church. As well as people being buried in the graveyard, there's people buried inside in the grounds of the church, which is very, very small. And overhead is an ancient inscription in Latin, in very, very good condition, that is probably at the lee side of the church. All these headstones that you see here are dating back to the early 1800s. Some inside, I see even a small baby that had been buried there in the last 50 years. So people do claim to have old family graves here still. And as I say, we're still in Tubberud, and we're still not finished with ruined buildings. Across the field is another very ancient building, and it's just up a hill that they call Minister's Hill.